Hi, I'm Ben Fontours, and I'm sitting here with Big and Rich, and we're sitting exactly between Raising Hell and Amazing Grace. We're going to have a little chat with them. All right.
Amen.
I want to ask just a couple little questions because I haven't seen all that much of the biographies of your past. So, Kenny, son of a church pianist and a Virginia cowhand. So, would the pianist be the father and then the cowhand the mom, or reverse, or both the same person?
Um, I don't know where the word cowhand came from. In Virginia, they're called farmers.
Farmers. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
and my son represents the eighth generation of my family to farm this land in Virginia.
Okay.
And my father's 77 years old,
Uh-huh.
and he is still farming there in Virginia. Has 200 head of commercial brood cows, and we sell calves on a yearly basis. A bunch of horses up there, and you know,
Who was the church, or is the church pianist?
my mother was the church pianist
Uh-huh.
when I grew up. She was like our choir leader for all the kids, and as young as I can remember, she had us dressed up in robes, singing "Jesus Loves Me."
Mm-hmm.
Did you sing Deep and Wide? Did you ever do that one?
Deep and wide, do Lord.
Do Lord's a good one. Did you ever do If the Devil Doesn't Like It, He Can Sit on Attack, Ouch, Sit on Attack, Ouch?
We never really did that one, but I did hear that from some of my friends from other areas.
So did you sing that in church?
Oh, yeah. My dad
okay.
was a preacher, so
Mm-hmm.
he had all the songs.
Wow. Who played guitar?
My dad
Right.
played guitar and sang in church.
Yep. And how about your mother?
My mother sang too. My mother's pretty much, my sisters sing. I got two sisters that are really incredible singers. My brothers write songs. Just kind of out of nowhere, he goes, "Hey, I just got a publishing deal." You're kidding. So it seems like my entire family was musical.
Now you guys met 1998
Yeah.
in Nashville. Was there a third party who brought you together?
Well, Kenny was playing a lot around Nashville, a bunch of little places, Douglas Corner, 12th and Porter, Exit Inn, all these places. I'd started hearing about this guy, and my girlfriend at the time wanted to go see him because all her girlfriends were going to see him, and they were all in love with this guy, Big Kenny. And I went, okay, I'll go check him out, whatever Big Kenny is. So I go out there, and he's up there in all his bigness, doing his thing, and doing this somewhere between country, rock and roll, and Queen. It was very odd music, but it was good. It was good stuff, and they were loving it. And I didn't know what to think about him, but when the show was over, this girl, Cindy Simmons, who we were both friends with, a mutual friend, made sure that she put us together and shook hands and said, the two of you guys should get together and write a song. She goes, there's no telling what y'all would end up writing because you're both so different, there's just no telling. And we went, oh, okay, yeah, nice to meet you. Okay, we'll get together and write a song. And we set up an appointment. I think he canceled the first one. Then we set up another one. I canceled that one. Set up another one. Canceled that one again. Finally, the fourth time we took a whack at it, went, this is ridiculous. Let's just get this over with. So we got together and we wrote a song. I think it was October 10th or something like that. Is what I think it was.
He's good with dates.
Did you agree with Cindy though that you, in some way, wanted partnership?
Well, his stuff was interesting enough to me that I did agree that there's no telling what would happen if we wrote. It might be a complete fiasco, but I hadn't seen anybody else do the kind of music he was doing, so it interested me enough on a writing level to go, okay, let's see.
We are always considered ourselves songwriters.
Yes.
First and foremost, if I had to
Some-
fill out an occupation
Yeah.
form, I'd probably just put out.
Well,
songwriter.
we may not die as artists, but we'll die as songwriters.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm too old to go tour, or voice blew out 30 years ago, I'll still be sitting around humming out songs.
And then came the Music Mafia. Well, that was
Yeah.
fairly soon after you had gotten your deals, I guess, and were able to.
Gotten our deals.
Gotten our
and
deals.
were able to see that we were both going to be highly unsuccessful. with
Yeah.
those
Losing the deals.
And the thing that we realized is the one thing we always had was there was this whole bunch of us, that were making all different kinds of music and different joints in town, and some of them were more rock clubs, some of them were more country. They were kind of, just had some separation in them, but we were all writing songs together. No matter what kind of music we were predominantly making,
Yeah.
and we had fun writing those songs together, and we wanted to play them more often.
Right.
started. So we decided, you know, outside of each and everybody doing their own shows and stuff, why don't we just get together one night a week and find us some little place we can play where we could just make music and not have to clean up afterwards. And so the Mafia started in a little place called the Pub of Love in Nashville, Tennessee. The room, it ended up, you know, it was a kind of a size room, probably, you know, 20 by 15 or something. And, you know, you could probably get 75 people in there if you packed it good.
Yeah.
Within a few months, they had to bust out the back wall, and there was a whole nother room there. And then by the time you opened all the windows and let people hang out the
We
windows.
opened the windows, people would be on the street listening.
Never one time told anybody, man.
Became a
Never,
scene.
never
Just
charged
get
cover.
together and play, and people would hear about it and know it's cool, and some other artists would show up. And
Yeah.
it was fun, man.
Yeah.
It was always really acoustic driven, and you know, we had percussionists that would come and just bring boxes of shakers and stuff, so anybody could play along and just have fun, like you were sitting in somebody's living room.
But 5 years ago, in the environs of the Music Mafia, were you doing it just purely for the mutual enjoyment of each other, knowing that outside there were these walls up?
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
So you were just doing it
We were
for
just
fun.
doing it for fun,
Yeah.
and doing it for fun because we were all completely broke. I mean, Gretchen Wilson was a bartender at that point. She was taking Tuesday nights off and would come down there and jam with us. Cowboy Troy was a shoe salesman. He was driving up from Dallas about once a month to jam with us. And, you know, Kenny was in his famous credit card debt. I was a two-time loser at this point. Lone Star had fired me. I couldn't get a solo deal going. Nobody in town would touch me,
Yeah.
you know, at that point. So we were in there just jamming,
You still
drinking,
had a publishing
having a good
deal.
time. I still had a publishing deal.
So,
A lot of
yeah.
the bar tabs came. I paid for a lot of them because I was the only guy with a. I had a pretty good publishing deal.
It's
He
like-
had a publishing deal too, but mine was better.
And then
Okay.
after I did my record deal and it didn't work, you know, publishing
Yeah.
deals weren't so easy to come by, so I just said, okay, I won't do it. I'll just figure it out some way, and I'm just gonna keep writing songs and doing what I do.
We'd have little meetings with all the Music Mafia members back then and go, you know, whichever one of us gets a deal first.
Yeah.
Gretchen, if you get it, you know, Kenny, if you get it, if Big and Rich, whatever. At that point, we weren't even thinking about us being an act, but whoever gets a deal or gets something going, we just make a deal right now that everybody lets everybody else bleed off of their momentum, and everybody's like, absolutely. We
But
still do it.
still,
We're
it's just-
still together. And
Yeah.
you wouldn't think that, because when you sell millions and millions of records and the money gets real big and the pressures of all that, why would you still, if you got a Tuesday night off, why aren't you at home or doing something? Well, because we still like to jam with each
Yeah.
other and we still like to do it.
We talk a little bit about the new album, or you've described your albums, I think, as like kind of mixtapes, where you're just kind of throwing stuff together. But most of those albums, the two you've done so far, have lots of shifting tempos. Even within a song, you'll have that. Whereas here, you have a more mellow outlook in general. It's more spiritually grounded, and then you break out.
And then it starts tearing
Then you
tearing
have
it.
some parties,
Yeah, yeah.
and near the end to celebrate. But what is it that inspired the idea of more of a conceptual album, and also one that is devoted to a specific theme like this?
Well, the theme again came from a conversation last year, and just the realization that is, you know, between Raising Hell and Amazing Grace is that fine line that we're walking on all the time, you know, trying to live life to its fullest, and at the same time, you know, knowing that, you know, every day of our lives is a blessing. And you know, I think that for myself, you know, having a family now, you know, there's just I see outside of myself even in a stronger way than I'd ever seen before, and feel like with you know, to those given much is expected.
And that means then going ahead and devoting the majority of an album to those thoughts.
Well, it means just being at a point where you know the only thing that matters in our music is making music that is so great that our audience becomes even bigger, that we can make them our music and tell them things that are important to us. You know, I think this album, the reason that it was set up like it is set up, because I find myself now when I'm listening to music, I prefer to stay in a zone for a little while. We've been going so many places, it just seemed like, well, maybe we would go ahead and simplify the continuity for everybody and go, look, here's a feeling we're going to stay in, and thoughts that we're going to express, in a certain style for a while, and then we're going to switch gears and we're going to rock your balls off.
Introduce the album with, it sounds like a sound clip from a news story from years ago.
It's Harry S. Truman in his speech to the farmers in 1935.
Okay.
And it's
then-
just a clip of what he was saying.
Right. Goes into Lost in This Moment, which combines the spiritual with both the romantic and the celebration of new life.
Yes.
That sounds like what you were talking about in terms of family.
Absolutely.
Bless
I mean,
you.
and it's also the first time that John and I have just figured out how we could, perform a love song.
First love song we've ever put out.
We've written a lot of them, but that's the first one we've ever put out.
Yeah.
Who wrote it?
I wrote
John
it with a couple
Keith.
of the guys. Keith Anderson's another country singer, and a guy named Rodney Clausen, who was my junior high basketball coach in Texas. But that song's been around several years, and I mean, it was just being pitched and people looking at it. And when Kenny and I sat down to make this album, we decided, okay, stop pitching all of our songs right now. Let's look and see what we got. If we're having all these hits on all these other artists, could they work for us? Well, that was one of the songs I said, well, I got this one, and Kenny had heard it, a couple years previous, and he said, man, I've always loved that song. It has such a vibe, and what it's saying, really puts pictures in your head, the way that thing comes across.
Between Raising Hell and Amazing Grace, of course, you talked about it, but in terms of the song itself, who crafted it?
Big Kenny wrote that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty biopic, really. Raised by the good book, learned to work hard every day. Thought that if you can't say something good, there's nothing good to say.
Yeah.
And caught on pretty early. It's no use to work no harder than you play. I guess that's how
Mm-hmm.
it ended up this way.
Yeah.
Somewhere between Raising Hell and Amazing Grace. I mean, it's just so just true.
Yeah.
It's just telling it like it is.
Well, which leads us to Eternity, the one with John Legend's introduction. Now this one has more of a, I don't know what if the word is lush, but it has a more full orchestral kind of a sound. So
Yeah.
it's really quite beautiful. Why did you bring in John Legend to do this?
He's just such a great singer, and it's got a real soul about him, And Kenny actually, on the demo of the song, had a real soulful kind of guy singing on it. And I always loved that intro. So we got to keep that style of intro. We ought to see if we can get one of our buddies to do it, And so we got a hold of John, and he heard the song and went, man, what a great song. What do you want me to do? Like, just sing the chorus a cappella one time. That's all we need. He did it, and it's just gorgeous. I hope it's.
How about the thought of life being so perfect, we shouldn't know we made it when we make it to the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Like that we could get things going just so good here on this earth that when the time comes, man, and you fly to that great place that you don't even know it, man.
Yeah.
It's like you're already in it.
Uh-huh.
That thought is just consuming to me, and
This is your song?
that's the idea.
You wrote it.
Eternity,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Kenny wrote it.
Right.
But-
Back to the concept, the conceptual feel of the album, and now we have where beyond mixtape, there's a DJ. It's like a little sense of radio going on in here to introduce the song Radio.
Mhm.
Okay.
Right.
Does this kind of idea come up in the studio where you say, oh well, we got a song about radio. Radio has jingles, disc jockeys.
Right.
whatever.
The idea for that long intro happened in the studio.
Ah.
That was a guitar lick I had, and I'm like, man, we ought to just come up with something that just tears people's heads
So it
off.
sounds like we're opening a show.
Yeah.
We wanted it to sound like the band's out here, and here we go, we're opening a show. And we got that done, we got the song done, and one day I'm sitting in there listening to it and just grab a piece of paper, and again, it's just stream of consciousness. It's, I'm on the stage, and what would I say? And so we put that in there, and it all works together cool and provides an insane transition in the record, which is like that.
Yeah.
It kind of takes you back in time a little.
That was our approach to this album. The greatest songs win. The best songs win, period.
Wow.
It's not about who wrote what. It's not
I
about
think we were
anything.
definitely more in a mood on this album of like, you know what, man, who knows how many chances you get to do this. So, it's important that we put out nothing but just stuff
No
that's
matter where it
great.
came from.
I heard you guys also produced a book that's coming out.
Comes out the same day the album comes out.
Yeah.
Big and
what is
Rich
it?
All Access.
Big and Rich All Access. It's a real behind the scenes look at at our lives since we met.
Okay.
You know, it's a little bit of backstory, but primarily since we met in this insane ride that we've been on, you know, for the past 45 years now.
Amazing couple of journeys. Amazing. Okay, well, congratulations.
Oh, thanks a
Thank
lot.
you.